What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Intruder Security. Kali 2024.3 is here, and you may be wondering how to install it onto your Windows. This video, we are going to install the latest Kali Linux 2024.3 on VMware. If you haven't set up VMware yet, no worries. I've already covered how to install VMware on Windows in one of my previous videos, so make sure to check that out first. The link is in the description box. Once you have VMware installed and ready to go, come back here and we'll get Kali Linux up and running in no time. So without further ado, let's jump straight into it. Alright, the first thing we need to do is download the Kali Linux 2024.3 ISO file, which will allow us to install the operating system on VMware. Head over to the official Kali Linux website by searching Kali Linux download on the browser. Once you're on the homepage, navigate to the Download section. Here, you'll see several options, but we want the Installer Images section. Scroll down until you find the option for the latest version, which is Kali Linux 2024.3. Now, when it comes to selecting the correct image, you'll want to choose the 64-bit version, which is compatible with most modern systems. If you're unsure, the 64-bit version is the safer bet. Once you've found it, click on the ISO option, and your download should start automatically. This might take some time depending on your internet speed, so now is a good time to grab a cup of coffee while we wait for the download to complete. Once the ISO file is downloaded, the next step is to open VMware and create a virtual machine for Kali Linux 2024.3. In VMware, click on Create a new virtual machine to get started. When you see the Setup wizard pop up, you'll want to select the typical option for the virtual machine configuration. This option is recommended as it simplifies the process and automatically selects the best settings for most users. After selecting Typical, click Next. At this point, you'll need to choose how you want to install the operating system. Since we already have the ISO file downloaded, browse the ISO file you downloaded and select it. Once done, move forward to the next step. Here, select Linux, and from the drop-down menu, choose Debian 1264-bit. This is because Kali Linux is based on Debian, so it's the most compatible option. After selecting that, click Next. Now, name your virtual machine. You can name it something like Kali Linux 2024.3. so you'll easily recognize it later. Choose a location where you want to store the virtual machine files on your computer, and then click Next to continue. Here, we need to allocate disk space for Kali Linux. I recommend setting the disk size to at least 40 GB, but you can give it more if you have the space and usage. VMware will then give you the option to store the virtual disk as a single file or split it into multiple files. I recommend keeping the default setting of split virtual disk into multiple files. Once that's done, click Next, and you'll almost be ready to go. Now that everything is ready, let's power on the virtual machine and install Kali Linux 2024.3. In VMware, select your newly created virtual machine and click Power on this virtual machine. When the virtual machine boots up, you'll see the Kali Linux installer. Choose the Graphical Install option and press Enter to start the installation process. The first thing you'll be asked is to select your preferred language. Choose your language and click Continue. Next, you'll need to select your location, which helps configure the system's time zone. I will choose India. After choosing your country, hit Continue again. Now, choose your keyboard layout. For most people, American English works fine, but you can choose whichever layout fits your needs. The installer will now start detecting your hardware and configuring the network. After this, you'll be prompted to set up your system's hostname. You can leave it as the default Kali, or give it a custom name if you prefer. Once you've entered the hostname, click Continue. If you're not sure about the domain name, you can leave this field blank and proceed. Now comes an important part, setting the root password. Make sure to choose a strong password, as this is what you'll use to log in as the administrator. Once that's done, hit Continue to move on. The installer will now ask you how you want to partition the disk. For simplicity, choose the option that says Guided Use Entire Disk. After that, select the virtual disk you created earlier. You should see the 40 GB space you allocated and hit Continue. Next, choose All Files in one partition, which is the easiest option for most users. Finally, confirm the partition changes by selecting Finish Partitioning and Write Changes to Disk. The installer will now format the disk and begin copying files. This part may take some time, so sit back and relax while the installation progresses. Now you need to select the desktop environment and the tools you want in your Kali. I will recommend you to install all of it. For now, I will keep it same. As it's installing all the tools and packages, it will take large amount of time. Wait till it completes. As the installation nears completion, you'll be prompted to install the Grub bootloader. This is essential for Kali Linux to boot correctly, so select Yes, and then choose the virtual hard disk where Grub should be installed. After Grub is installed, the system will finish the setup, and you'll be asked to reboot the virtual machine. Once the virtual machine reboots, VMware will boot straight into Kali Linux 2024.3, and you'll be greeted with a login screen. Enter root as the username and use the password you set earlier. Congratulations! You've successfully installed Kali Linux 2024.3 on VMware, and it's now up and running. And that's it for today's tutorial. You now have the latest version of Kali Linux installed and ready to use within VMware. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and the bell so you don't miss any future updates. If you run into any issues during the installation process or have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below, and I'll do my best to help you out. As always, stay safe, keep hacking ethically, and I'll see you in the next video.